Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I just wrapped up my first week of working in my field with my degree and my first week of grad school in my forensic psychology graduate program. This video is going to talk about my experience working in correction. I've worked in both a county jail and now I am working in a prison, so I'll be able to compare the differences. Also, I'm going to be uploading a video a little later about my first week of grad school, forensic psychology, why I'm interested in it, and how things like that is going for me, just in case you all are interested. So let's get into the video. Interested in working in corrections a few years ago or so. I had a cousin who I'm really close with. She was incarcerated and I used to write her letters and talk to her occasionally, and just listening to like her experience in prison just really caught my attention, and it kind of just made me want to see if I can change things in corrections, because I don't really like how a lot of things are and how people are being treated. So that's where my interest in working in corrections came from. So the first time I got the opportunity to work in corrections, this was my last semester of my senior year in college, and I also used this job opportunity as my field experience, so I didn't have to take on too extra of a load. I just randomly applied for a mental health clerk position one night, and surprisingly, like the next day, I got a call from the recruiter, set up an interview. That went well, and I got the job, and so I'm really excited now. And so it took a month for me to start or whatever. My duties as a mental health clerk working at a county jail, I was with the mental health team, and so I would pretty much fax off any paperwork that needed to be faxed off to different county facilities, pharmacies, doctor's offices. I would input like psych emergencies into the system. Like if someone says I'm about to commit suicide, that gets documented. I would put that within the system. I really didn't do much, which I don't know if that's bad or good, but I didn't really do much. But what I like most about the job is just being in the environment and being around people who I one day want to be like. Like, I think my first few days there, I got to shadow licensed mental health counselors, licensed social workers. I met 2 forensic psychologists who was more than eager to give me their information, or if I ever needed a recommendation, or just information in general from them. They were open to give that to me. I got to meet a psychiatrist, and it was just all around very informative. And because that is what I like, and I one day want to work in a prison as a psychologist, it was just everything to me and gave me so much life. Few of the rules. First of all, dress code. It's like business casual, but like if you're a woman working with male inmates, I feel like the dress code is just a little bit more strict. Like, of course, I wouldn't wear dresses too short. I wouldn't wear skirts too short. I still wore jeans because we had casual Friday, so but they wouldn't be like super tight, and like my tops, I wouldn't like have them cut too low. So it was like I was very professional, cute as usual. So the dress code is like not really anything too extreme. I cannot get as close to inmates as you would your coworkers. Like, there is a boundary that just cannot be crossed for several reasons. First of all, if you're a staff member, they need to know that you're in charge and that you're not their friend. You ain't their little friend. You ain't their cellmate. And if you get too close to them, you very well can become their cellmate. because they don't really have, oh, I hate to say this, but they don't really have like rights. So like they cannot consent to certain things. So even if, you know, you get a little too close to an inmate and you say, you know, well, he wanted me first or she wanted me first. No, it doesn't work like that, because they cannot give consent to things like that. So that's something that you just have to be very careful of if you go into corrections. Just remember, it is your job. Do your job and go home. Do not get close. And it's hard. If you're a people person like myself, it's hard to not get like too involved with people, especially if you feel like you want to help them. It can be hard, but boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. My first day working in corrections, I was so nervous. I was so scared. I've never been in jail before. So I've never been inside of a jail before. The scariest thing to me that I had to get used to was the bars closing. There is this cranking noise, and it's like when them bars close, it's like, oh my God, like, am I in jail? Like, am I gonna be able to get out? And like working in jail, first of all, jail is way worse than prison. I don't know if y'all knew that, but jail is way worse than prison because you are more restricted in jail than you are in prison. Like the jail where I worked barely had windows. So it's like you're inside of a building for your entire 8-hour, 12-hour shift. And when you walk outside, it's like, like the sun is blinding because you have not seen sunlight in hours. Also, like the activities y'all may see prisoners doing on Orange is the New Black, they don't do that in jail. Like, I can't even remember like them having like yard time or anything like that. Like, jail is way worse. And it's like sitting in jail, you're anxious. Anxiety is so high because you don't know when you're getting out, especially if you ain't got no money and you broke. You don't know when you're getting out. If you don't have no money on your books, or you know, if you don't have family members that's supporting you, that's gonna really drive you crazy. You don't know what's going on with your case if you don't have a lawyer. So most people that I've seen in jail was ready to be sentenced to prison. Like, just send me to prison, just get me out of here. Relationship between correctional officers and inmates. And that's one thing that I was like not really for. First of all, I want to say shout out to all correctional officers who work in corrections. Y'all are very well underappreciated, and y'all do not get the credit that you deserve. Y'all are some amazing people who pull extremely long hours, and you deal with a lot on a daily basis. Like, some of them get pee thrown on them. They get cursed out on a daily. Oh, that's a common thing. If you work in corrections, like, you're going to get cursed out. I haven't got cursed out yet by an inmate, and you know, I'm not going to say I'm ready for that, but you know, I'm just preparing myself, okay? But one thing that I just really did not like is that a few correctional officers just, I feel, have the wrong mindset working in corrections. Like, I feel like they are afraid of the inmates. And if so, then that's okay. Like, it's okay to be afraid of people who are in prison or who are in jail. You know, you never know what they've done, or you may know what they have done, which is why you're afraid. But I feel like if you are afraid, you kind of shouldn't be in the position, because if you're afraid of someone, how can you do a service to them without being neglectful? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of like a scary thing. You have some correctional officers who look at inmates as if they're the enemy. Then you have inmates who look at correctional officers as if they're the enemy. So I think it's just constantly a clash. So working in mental health within corrections, when I was at the county jail, one thing that I learned is that in a mental health unit, I feel like it's so well organized, and I love organization. So like within a mental health unit inside of a jail or in corrections, there are different names for different things. So like in one unit, within the mental health unit, you may have people who are on active suicide, or people who are a huge threat to themselves. Then you have a non-active suicide unit, and that is for inmates who don't want to commit suicide or don't want to harm anyone else. They're still showing high levels of mental disorders. So and then you have a step down unit, step down phase. So people who are coming off of active suicide or non-active suicide, who are, taking their medication regularly. Their whole outlook and perspective on things is completely different than it was when they were on active suicide, non-active suicide. And so now they go to step down, just to calm down a little bit more before they're released back into the general population with the rest of the inmates who don't have mental health disorders. And so that's how things are kind of structured in mental health within corrections. Do y'all hear my ankle? It happens like clockwork. All I gotta do is twirl it and it pops and pops. Okay, but working in corrections just further let me know that I want to get my master's in forensic psychology. Now, I do not want to be a forensic psychologist. I want to get my PsyD in clinical psychology so that I'm not just limited or restricted to forensics. Like, I want to work in many different settings. I don't want to work in forensics, but I do enjoy working in forensic, if that makes any sense. Now, I am working in a prison as a reentry coordinator / behavioral health, behavior technician. So what I will be doing, because this was my first week, I just wrapped up my first week, which was amazing. And one thing I really love about this prison is that there are so many Black women working in corrections. Like, I want to say at least 85% of the correctional officers are Black women. Lit. So many Black nurses, so many Black administrators. Like, sis, let's make it happen. And I be wanting to be like so extra, but then I have to remember, be professional, Bernica. But I be wanting to be like, I see you, sis. So anyway, but what I will be doing, I will be hosting activities, helping these women. And I want to say these women, I don't even want to say patients because I don't have any patients, because I just have a bachelor's. But also it makes me very uncomfortable to refer to them as inmates. I do not like doing that. I feel like the term inmate is just so degrading, and I don't like to degrade people. It's not my business what they did before they got in prison. That's not my business why they did it. I don't want to know what they did, why they did it. I just want to do my job and help them become better people for themselves and for society, and prepare them for the world for when it's time for them to be released. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to degrade nobody, and it hurts my feelings when I hear officers say, let's go, inmate. Or, just whatever. Like, I don't like referring to them as inmates, so I'm not going to say inmate. I'm going to say women, because I'm working with women. I will be hosting activities and hosting group sessions with women, encouraging them, building their social skills, and overall preparing them for life after prison. And I am super excited about it. I did get the opportunity to shadow a field of clinicians, of course, and just meeting some of the women, like, in my head, I was getting emotional. Not because of the things that they did, but just kind of like how some of them were, like, just very optimistic, or you can just tell, like, their perspective on life isn't tarnished. Like, they still have faith, they still have hope, they still are interested in bettering themselves. Like, they haven't completely given up. But then again, I also met some women who were just at that point. Like, it was just like, oh my gosh, like, what can I do to help this person? You know, and it just kind of made me very sad. And it's like, a lot of the women are probably my age or younger. And it's just, I don't know, it just kind of breaks my heart. I'm a little emotional too, but you know, I keep a straight face and I know how to remain professional, but I'm also human. And so I'm just ready to put my best foot forward and to learn as much as I possibly can, because I feel like my job working in correction is to serve the people who are incarcerated. That's how I feel, and that's what I want to do, and I want to do it to the best of my ability. The environment in prison compared to jail is way less restricted. Like, it's kind of like a high school. Like, I feel when I go to work, I feel like I'm at a college, or a high school. I feel like I'm at a high school, just with barbed wire and gates towering over it. It's like a lot of space, you know, basketball courts, nice grass and plants, and just like a lot of fresh air. It's not inside, you know, with no sunlight all the time. And so the environment compared to jail and a prison is just way more free. I feel way more free. And so if you are looking to work in a correctional facility, whether that's jail, a juvenile detention center, or prison, and you want to work in mental health, my advice to you is to start at a entry-level position. When I first started working in corrections, I was a mental health clerk. Now I am a salaried reentry coordinator. You know, so you can definitely come up in life, but you always have to start somewhere. Please remember that you have to crawl before you walk. You gotta walk before you run. So you gotta start somewhere. And yeah, and also another piece of advice to whoever wants to work in corrections: have an open mind and do not be judgmental, because being judgmental can get in the way of how you perform your job duties. And the most important thing that you have to remember is that you have a job to do. That's my advice, and that is my experience working in corrections and mental health from a jail perspective and also from a prison perspective. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.